I don't know what happened. Hi, I'm Tommy, and you were on the lifeboat. What's happening? Well, everybody, I am the master of all things electronic. I am the wizard of all things having anything to do with software. I
You're
am
the
Tommy
exact
Scoville.
opposite of everything you just said.
I got this.
Oh,
It's
I'm sorry.
I haven't really caught my momentum yet, but I know it's coming. Like I'm gonna catch my stride with this YouTube thing. Majesty, good to see you. Just Joan, Lisa Trimble, Allison Metcalf,
Oh, yeah.
Columbo is here. UT Soul, what's happening? Chicka Cherry Cola, Sweet Liberty, Layla, you got me on the knees. Bradley, Sherry, good to see you. Sandra Ferguson, Juana, good to see you. True to It Connections, Rebecca. Judy Lee, DS Kitty Diane, how are you? Kristen Melinda, Supermod. Barbara Aldrich, I am glad that you are here. Twisted Sister Paranormal, how are you? Working with the different backdrop. Casper, how are you, my brother?
Dude, I'm doing pretty good, man. I got to spend the day with my daughter because she was feeling a little under the weather, so that was awesome.
What's that
We had
being your own boss thing?
a daddy-daughter day. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you gotta love that. I'm jealous.
Man, we have
Willie
the
Benjamin,
best.
good to see you. You know what? I didn't get to do enough of that with my daughter when she was a kid. Without Feathers, Taylor Miller, Sweet Liberty, Boodakaboo. Good to see you, Boodakaboo. Twisted Sisters back. Goosebump 801. There you are. It is. It is Casper and it is Tommy. And you know what, folks? Tonight's going to be a little different. Tonight, you know, we've brought Casper on, and he's kind of family at this point. You know what I mean? Everybody kind of feels like, you know what? He's one of us. We feel like he's part of the clan. But we haven't really heard Casper's story. Hey, Mark Hardman, good to see you. Galen, what's happening? I have heard the majority of his story. Of course, it's been a few years back. I'm going to have to hear the updates of it because obviously things have changed a bit in the last 14 years, 11 years, something like that. It's been a long, long time. It's been a long time. But I'm actually pretty fired up to hear it. Taylor Miller, good to see you. And you know what? I get more positive feedback when you are on. Lumen, good to see you. You're actually very popular with the crew of the lifeboat.
That's so cool, all, man.
You know, recovering drug addicts.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm kidding. No, but seriously, it's a very understanding and very accepting crew, and that's kind of a. In the woods of Spielberg, you're gonna need. In the words of Spielberg, you're gonna need a bigger boat. You're right. That we're gonna have to be the life ship at some point, and I'm looking forward to the day where we have to switch on up to the ship. I'm curious where you start this, Casper. I mean, it's a kind of a legitimate question, but where do you start off this story? Because you broke bad late in life. I'm correct.
Super late. Yeah, super late in life. So what I do, and of course it depends on who I'm speaking with and who I'm talking to. You know, like what's important, what's not. Like, you know, if I'm doing my testimony, say at a church or something, I kind of skip over like details of, you know, what I was charged with, and I just kind of I just kind of go with my childhood, get to the, you know, some tragedy that was the catalyst event that led me to discovering that I'm an addict, because I do believe that it's a disease I got from my dad, because he was an alcoholic, and I'm still really close with him to this day. I've never ever had a falling out with my dad. My dad's an amazing cat. I had a great childhood with him, and so yeah, so it was pretty late. I was 29 when I discovered it. Now I was a workaholic before that, so right. I should have known. And I did like when I would go to the dentist and get a prescription for Vicodin, you know, before that, I did always gobble those up, but I didn't realize that I really liked opiates. I just thought, oh, cool, I got a prescription for Vicodin, I'm just going to eat all those up. Right. But I wouldn't go back there and say, hey, it still hurts, I need another script. You know, I never did that, not one time. And or, you know, like if I was at somebody's house and they had, you know, some Vicodin or something, I might say, hey, let me get one of those before we go out, and might take one and then go drink, but I wouldn't call him the next day. Like, hey, can I get
any more of those things?
Yeah. Now the kind of guy I am now, if I was in my addiction, I would just go steal the whole bottle. You know what I mean?
Exactly. As soon as you pull them out, I'm going to need those, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't understand. I'm going to need those, bro.
Yeah. I'm going to need those. So basically I grew up in California. Just a pretty good childhood. I did move around a lot though. And when my mom couldn't handle me, because I was a handful in my teenage years, I didn't like school. Yeah. And I did smoke a little weed in school, but I've always had an adverse reaction to pot. Like it makes me, it gives me like anxiety. It could be the weakest pot in the world. I get really weird anxiety. And then, every couple of years I'll be like, maybe I can.
I should try that one more time.
I'll take a hit and I just regret it. I put a sheet over my head, literally. And you can ask my wife. I literally just put a sheet over my head. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And it's a trip, man. She smokes all day, every day. She's like Little Kim. That's what I call her, Little Kim sometimes. Yeah. Actually, she doesn't smoke all day, every day. She doesn't smoke during business hours, really. Because she's a professional, so she doesn't, smoke a lot while she has to get busy. But that's her little relaxation thing that she does at night, and it's perfect for her. It doesn't spin her out, because I'm of the mentality, if I can't feel okay with myself, like, you know what I mean? I don't ever want to feed that compulsion of, I'm having anxiety, I'm having a shitty day, I need to do something. Fix it. This is going to fix it. I don't want to feed that compulsion to do that, because if I do it a little bit now, having said that, I will have a beer once in a blue moon with a sandwich, whatever. The other night I went and I bought a 12-pack to have at the house, because like 3 weeks ago I wanted a beer and I was like, oh man, we don't have no beer, but it wasn't enough for me to go drive to the store and get one. Do you know what I mean? I literally live a block away from an Albertsons, which is like a Safeway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. They have Albertsons everywhere. And that's the kind of, that's where I'm at with like having a beer. Now I bought those beers the other night and I didn't even open one. It's still
right.
It's still opened, and I was
like,
man,
so when did you go off the rails?
I was 29. So my wife was killed by a drunk driver in a car accident, and I wasn't there. I was in Los Angeles working. I was supposed to be there. I was supposed to go with her to Seattle. It happened in Seattle, and it was her. She went to go see her sister's play, and it was a really bad car accident, and that would have been the second person in my life that my older brother was killed in a car accident when I was 17 by a drunk driver. So it hit me really hard. My brother hit me really hard, and then when she was killed, it hit me super duper hard. And so I was basically in the fetal position on my couch for like 30 days. I took time off work, a bereavement leave, and this guy who worked, I always say he worked for me, but if I'm really honest, he didn't really work for me, but he did work like under me, like in a lab. So corporations, and they're like where their servers and everything, they call those labs. And so in the lab, I was the systems engineer. He was the A+ technician. So I don't even know if they have A+ technicians anymore, or even MCSEs. So anyway, he would come by and check on me in the mornings, and and he'd just be like, "Man, you're falling apart. You're falling apart." But I was telling my story one time at a rehab center, and it hit me that he wasn't checking to see if I was okay. I think he was checking to see if he was going to find me hanging. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
He checking to make sure I was okay, but I think he was really just kind of like,
He thought that there was a decent chance you might be taking yourself out. He was actually coming to see whether or not you were still with us. Hello, baby.
Yeah.
I love you. That's a terrifying. I had a friend. I've told the story on the boat many times, but I had a friend that went through a similar stretch, but it was 3 family members, and it was 3 family members in about 2.5 months. And I would go over in the mornings, man, like, cause I would ring his phone. And if he didn't pick the phone up, my heart would go directly into my throat. You know what I mean? I would be driving over to his house as fast as I could because I just, he was dark. He went to really, really dark places. It's frightening. So you just lost not just your brother, but your brother and your wife, and you're working.
Mm-hmm.
The addiction starts to take over. You start using that as your coping mechanism.
Yeah, so I started drinking really heavily, and he was checking on me in the morning. Like I was drinking, it was like picture perfect. I know we kind of have a little bit of an older, like people our age in this chat. Do you remember the opening scene to Smoking the Bandit 2? Where what's his name? The singer dude, his buddy, Snowman comes into it starts with showing beer bottles and whiskey bottles. Huh?
Mel Tillis?
No, not Mel Tillis. Jerry Reed.
I got you.
He was friends with Mel Tillis. Burt Reynolds was friends with Mel Tillis too. Anyway, it's a pan of just him just in a hotel room, just laid out, and there's just bottles and pizza. Yeah. Because the bandit, he had lost Bug. She had left him. And so anyway, that's all.
That was you.
That was me. But I was literally like in the fetal position. Anyway, do you remember those orange juices that had the tin foil? You could rip them open.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So McDonald's used to have those, and so he would always bring me a little bit of McDonald's, and I would eat it, but that would be the only thing I would eat because I hate eating before I drink, and I drank every morning at that time and during the day, and he's like, "Hey man, I put some speed in your orange juice," and I'm like, "Cool, man," and I thought he meant like cross tops, mini thins.
Right.
Ephedrine,
exactly.
ephedrine hydrochloride. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking, crank or meth or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was peanut butter crank because I went and got some more later.
I mean, in your OJ, dropped a half a G in your OJ.
I don't know what he dropped in it, but and I thought a lot about this. I grieved for 22 years. Like self-indulgently grieved for 22 years. And I thought a lot about that. Like I really truly feel like if I was like at a party, like my life was good and she hadn't passed and I was drunk and someone offered me a line and I just did it just to, to fit in. Cause I am a people pleaser, 1,000,000%.
You probably never would have done.
I probably would have done that. I would have been like, yeah, that's pretty good. And that was it. But I was at such a low, right? Such a low. And then to like skip that part where it's like everything's good and then go to the super meth.
Every chemical I got in my brain has been released at the same time. You went from being in the outhouse to the penthouse.
Right.
In the brain chemical department.
Not from the apartment below the penthouse to the penthouse. That's a great analogy. So, I was immediately like, I'm going to do this drug for the rest of my life.
This is how I want to feel forever.
This is how I want to feel forever. And everything was all right. So anyway, so I went to that very same day, I went to the Seventh Veil. It's a strip bar in Hollywood. I lived literally like 4 blocks from it. I went down there and just started drinking and just like, I wasn't even facing the stage. I was just talking to the bartender. And this stripper from North Carolina came and talked to me, and I was just kind of like laid it all on her, like I did some speed today. I've never done it before. It's awesome. I feel really good, and just was totally on. And she felt really sorry for me. And
1 second.
Boudicaboo
asks, "What is peanut butter crank?" So in the old days, no, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Peanut butter crank.
I really don't know what it was. I just know
So-
it was crank.
So back in the old days, back in the old days, before the days of the crystalled version of amphetamines, right? Before they started to make that brand, they used to make stuff that didn't come in shards, it didn't crystal up, and often it looked like peanut butter. It wasn't completely dried. It was kind of funky. It smelled an awful lot like cat pee. But it was a very unique kind of speed buzz. It was different. It was not made with the same ingredients that we use today. It was the old prop dope, P2P dope, the stuff that didn't make you stare out the blinds all day and pick your face and do some of the weird stuff that you see people do today. It was a very different, but it was also a lot harder to make, and there were many more steps, and there was a process of heating it and then a process of cooling it. There was a bunch of different stuff you had to do. And they got a much easier recipe, but the stuff that's out there today is a very different brand than the old peanut butter crank.
Yeah,
they used to call it white boy dope. You'd hear that a lot too. Oh, white boy dope, because it was usually made by guys that rode motorcycles.
Yeah, yep,
and
yep,
sold by guys that made motorcycles.
That time, there, everyone wasn't a cook. No one knew a cook. It was very a tight knit. And I find that out later in my crime and. So anyway, so she was a get high. And so she's like, well, can you get any more? And I was like, I think so. So I called my boy. I told him, and he was like, I don't know, man. I just was trying to get you out of bed, And I was like, well, I want some more. You're not going to do that.
But again.
yeah. I want to stay out of bed for, the next year. And so yeah, he hooked it up, and he felt really bad about doing it. Like right off the rip, he felt bad about doing it. He was an addict, and but you couldn't tell. He just came to work and did his thing, and so he felt really bad. So he hooked me up with his guy, and I just dealt with his guy.
Right.
And so fast forward to that.
Now you got to connect.
Yeah, now I have a connect, like right away. And I was living off my credit cards. I wasn't working, and I was buying a lot of drugs. I was paying all my bills, but I had crazy credit, and because I had a good job, and I was married, and I had a house, in Montana and a house in Los Angeles, and not big houses, but I was doing my thing.
Doing it.
Yeah, and so once my credit cards ran out, I knew I had to do something, so I started dealing, and I had my girlfriend was a stripper, so I could sell to her and all her friends. The strip bar was close, was a block away from Santa Monica Boulevard, so that was drag queen central. So I started meshing in with all the drag queens, and was selling to a lot of drag queens, and it was amazing. It really business. Yeah, easy business. That first 6 months was probably the most fun I'd had in my entire life. And, but of course it started to get bad pretty quickly, because it just doesn't last that initial, I'm sorry, I was reading that real quick.
Well, it's probably a good thing to read. Self-indulgently grieve, Casper, man. Please don't be that hard on yourself. Sending you strength and kindness from someone living in grief. Just got to hold on the raft as the waves come. Boy, that's probably a pretty good analogy right there.
Yep. That's awesome.
So you're dealing drugs.
Yep.
You got a girl that's a exotic dancer. So you're slinging to the drag queen community, as well as to a bunch of exotic dancers. The drag queen community probably isn't going to tell on you. That's one of the great secrets in drug dealing is if you can deal only to gay people, you'll never go to prison. Am I right? I mean, everybody talks about they keep secrets. They're a very tight knit group, and they don't tell on one another. People used to like so and so.
And there was, I was just doing my little thing, at that time. And then the guy who I was getting it from asked me to go because of how I looked. I didn't look like this. I had one tattoo, and it was of Yosemite Sam, and on my arm.
Back off.
Yeah, it was this guy. Yeah, it looked just like that. And so he asked me to go to, and this is when I found out he was a cook. He
Right.
said, "Hey, I want you to go to Burbank Chemical in Burbank and buy me these flasks, and I'll hook you up. I'll hook you up with like a quarter pound." And I was like, "Okay, bet." And I went right because you had to show an ID to buy these flasks. They're like these big 32-liter flasks.
Yep. No.
And they have flat bottoms. And so I went in there and I bought those for him, and he hooked me up with that quarter pound. And that was more drugs that I had ever seen in my life. And I was like, "Oh man, I'm the man," you know what I mean? And so that turned in, I was making so much money from the clientele that I was serving. The drag queens paid, $150 a gram. And I was getting for really nothing. And that's when, ounces were like 2,000 an ounce. And I was getting them super cheap, under 1,000. And so where can I go from there? So I was doing that, and then an old friend of my wife who passed, I told him, I was getting high, and he was like, "Well, I get high too." And he was up in Montana, and he's like, "Well, can you bring me something? There's nothing up here. There's nothing good, and it's super expensive." And I said, "Absolutely. I'd love to see you."
A few state lines.
Yeah. So to fast forward, I started selling up in Montana, and then that turned into selling in Colorado. So I was selling in Montana and Colorado, and I just started trafficking back and forth, and it just grew and grew and grew. I just didn't care. I didn't, I met some bikers, some 1% bikers out of Denver. They loved the stuff that I was getting. We would trade. It just got super crazy, super fast. Well, during that time, I had sold to an informant. Well, he wasn't an informant. He got busted with stuff he bought from me, and then became an informant. And
Right.
And I was the first person he informed on.
He was a CI, is what he was.
Yeah, he was a CI. Yep. And he tried to set me up with 2 pounds in Casper, Wyoming. And on the way there, his girlfriend called me and told me to turn around. She said,
freaking way.
Yep. She's like, "Where are you? Where are you?" I was like, "I'm on my way to see John. Don't worry, I'll be there." She's like, "No, turn around. He got busted."
That is a stand up Betty right there. God bless her.
And she literally lives like a mile from me now here.
God bless her.
I just ran across her on Facebook today. I mean, I know she's lived there since I've been up here, and super stand up, and we've talked about it, and so anyway, so that was perfect. They tried to call me. He's like, "No, man, that I am not working with them. Blah blah blah. That's not what happened." And I was like, "No, you know what? Tell that Fed that's sitting next to you to S my D, And it's all my discovery, of what I said. In my discovery, you know what they said? They said, "Well, we'll wait a couple weeks and try to reconnect with the target,"
Right. Yeah, no problem.
And but I never did. I never trusted him after that. But it didn't keep me from still going up there and sell to other people that I had been selling to, like an idiot.
Nice. Yeah, and then you got hemmed up.
Yeah, and then I ended up getting hemmed up. And so it was crazy. So I got arrested twice. The first time I got arrested, so I did go down to Costa Rica for a little bit, and somebody owed me some money, and I wanted to come up and get it real quick. I knew they were looking for me, and I was like, "Nah, they're not." I'm just gonna go in and out. So I flew up from Costa Rica, and I don't remember if you remember me telling you this story. Like, I got off the plane, and I could feel. I just felt funky, like the hairs in the back of my neck were standing up.
You could hear the shudder on the camera going.
Yeah. That's so funny. I used to always say that. I was like, man, I was like, bro, when I just walked in your house, I felt like it was like
I think we all do that, dude. I think every criminal goes through that, where you could just hear the auto winder and the shutter going off, and you're like, shit. I know I'm going to be looking at this in some carpeted room with carpet on the walls. They're doing the read technique, tossing a file at me.
Yeah. And so I get out to the parking lot. I'm going out to my rental car, and this lady walks by me. She's got a hat on, or with her ponytail sticking out, and she's walking this like a little baby stroller. And I make eye contact with her. I'm like, hey, and she just goes like this. She goes like that and kept walking. And I took like 3 more steps, and I went, fuck. And I turned around. As soon as I turned around, dude, she was in my face with a shotgun. On the ground, on the ground, on the ground. And I was like, I'm on the ground, I'm on the ground. Yeah, they just like, grab me. And dude, they literally took me to like this 9-person plane and flew me from LAX. It was like 5 hours later, but I didn't go downtown. I didn't go any of that, and flew me to Denver. And I got to Denver, and that's where they booked me. That's why I'm an 036 number. And yeah. They flew me to Denver. They were cool. Those marshals were rock stars, bro. We like get in the car, and they just like, they throw on their Oakleys, and they're just like, they got the bad guy in the back seat, and
offer you a cigarette. They don't care.
Yeah, it was cool. They're like, are you hungry? We can go to Burger King. I was like, no, I'm good, man.
Cup you in the front. Dude, they don't care.
Yep. I literally like leaned forward, man, and was like watching them. I'm like, man, these dudes are cool, man. Because I'm a square.
I had a lot of fun with those guys. Yeah, the marshals are usually the best. Just real briefly before we go on, because I find this so funny. I was never a drug dealer. I never ventured into that. But when I was trying to support a habit once, I was slinging some bags of tar, and I sold to an undercover. And that moment where like when you saw the girl with the baby carriage. I sell it to this guy. I sell it to him, and he goes like this. He opens up, and he goes, wow, man, stuff looks like really good shit. And then he goes like this. And he takes his hat off, and I'm just like, oh, no. I just got on my knees, dude. I got on my knees. I put my hands on my head like I was on my knees before they came out of anywhere. Because who says that? It looks like really good shit. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
You got to be kidding. That moment. Yeah. So how much did they catch you with on the first one?
So I never got caught with anything ever. I had some personal on me, that I flew with. I don't even know what happened to that. They probably got thrown in the trash. Yeah. But it was, they got, oh boy, when they busted him up in Montana, they got him with a quarter pound, which isn't a lot. In the grand scheme of things,
112 grams. It's not going to get
112 grams, and I think it was like 92% pure, so it was like 97 grams or something like that.
Right, it's got to be over 500 to really get their attention.
Right. Yep, because they do either pure or mixture. They can the guidelines that we've talked about, that you've talked about. They can do it whatever's more, and the pure was more than the mixture, and but they had been watching me, and they had been arresting people. So they were building this indictment, and then that's when Ghost Dope was a thing. It was a real deal. And was that Blakely Washington or Booker Fan? I always get them mixed up.
Booker, isn't it?
Is it Booker where they fixed the Ghost Dope rule or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, because what they would do, people, if you're not familiar with the concept of ghost dope, I sell some dope to Casper, and he gets pulled over by the cops leaving my place, and he says, "Yeah, Tommy sold it to me. I got a quarter pound right here." And they go, "Yeah, is this the first time you bought from him?" No, I've been buying from him for about 4 years. How often do you buy from him? Once a week. How much do you buy? About a quarter pound. They go, quarter pound, multiply it by 52, multiply that by 4 years, and then they come into court and.
Yep.
This is how much dope you sold. And you go, the dude got caught with 112 grams. You're charging me with 15 pounds, 20 pounds. What's this all about? But that was a thing. It was a big thing.
Yeah, it sure was.
That's what they did. Was they built a ghost dope case on you?
Yeah, they built a ghost dope case on me, and then Booker was just now in the Supreme Court when all that was happening, and so there was 6 people on my indictment. And the reason why it's hard for me to remember because everyone's severed,
Right.
and so everyone's severed. I was fighting it. This 18-year-old cheerleader out of you remember me telling you about her? So there was like this 18-year-old cheerleader that was on my case. She was selling to college kids down in Colorado Springs.
Yep.
And out of everybody, and I'm telling you, there's 1% bikers. There's all these gangster kid guys that are used to always tell me.
The cheerleader was the gangster.
The cheerleader was the gangster. She severed, took me to trial, and won. Yeah. She beat him.
I love it.
And you know what? She cleaned up her act after that. She owns like one of the biggest commercial painting companies in Colorado right now.
Yeah. The moral of the story is hold your mud, do the right thing.
Hold your mud, do the right thing. Yep. As what's his name?
Don't tell your friends.
Yeah, the stop snitching lawyer. He just lost his son, just passed away. It was also his producer. Yeah. You know who I'm talking about?
His son. Yeah.
He died.
Oh, I didn't know that. I love him.
Bruce Rivers.
Bruce Rivers. Yeah, the criminal lawyer.
His son was the producer for his.
Yeah, his son was on almost all of his videos. He's a really good guy. His kid. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, man.
Isn't that sad, man? Yeah, super sad.
And he lost him to drugs. Oh God, no. Oh God, no.
Did someone just say that?
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
I didn't either, man. That's
he was really thin, dude. He was really thin. I just thought he was just a skinny cat, but he was probably just strung out, man. Yeah, wow.
That's really unfortunate.
This boat, man. This boat is just badass, dude.
Fentanyl, huh? My God. Oh man, I feel bad for Bruce. I really do.
Yeah,
that's terrible,
him, dude. And he always lifted him up, dude.
Yeah, he did. He always lifted him up. Always talks about how he was the talent in the operation and all that. That's horrible for him. Thoughts and prayers for the Rivers family, man. That's lose another good one to this war. This just sucks. So sorry to put it downer, but we'll bring it back. So they prosecuted you fed on this, obviously, because you're taking it across state lines, right?
Yep.
So did you cut a deal?
No, I didn't. Not the first time. I didn't cut a deal, and like an idiot, I took him to trial.
Bold.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know, dude. I was a square. I thought everyone who told me that they would never testify. Yeah. And I thought for sure, because it was like this. Like I was the guy who said, "Hey, if you get busted, I'll bail you out. Give me a chance to bail you out of jail." I had a stack of bail receipts like this. I was friends with every bail bondsman from Denver to Billings, Montana, actually to Kalispell, Montana.
And the first chance they got to put it in your back.
And the first chance they got to put it in my back, they did.
Welcome to crime and honor among thieves.
But I didn't know these were the first people. I'm 30 years old. These are the first people, and I'm believing everybody.
It's so sad.
Yeah, it was
How
a trip.
How long did they break you off?
So I got broke off before Booker came into effect with 217 months.
Oh, that'll hold you.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
217 months. And then Booker fan, I got some action there for all the ghost dope, and I ended up getting 100. And they actually vacated the sentence, and then that's when I took the deal.
Right.
For 96 grams, they gave me, and I got 109 months.
109. Yeah, that's still a long time. But walk me through the day that they give you. What'd you say? 211?
217.
217. What was that day like, brother? 217 months. What did that sound like coming off the judge's lips?
It was, and the judge said that, and let me tell you, this judge, he ended up getting fired for calling Obama the N-word.
Shut
And
up.
later. And this judge said that he was going to sentence dealers 1,000,000 man years before he retired.
Oh, I heard about this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I heard
He
about
said,
this. He had a goal to give out 1,000,000 years of
yeah.
incarceration. They ended up
Yep.
getting rid of him.
Yeah, they ended up getting rid of him. And the prosecutor, James Sikora. It was Richard Siebel and James Sikora. They were like a tag team.
They also had to resentence a bunch of people. There was a lot of crap that came out from that.
Yep. So anyway, so yeah, it was crazy. I couldn't fathom it, but you know, I was ready to go to jail. You know, my body was poisoned with all the drugs. It didn't hit me as hard as I thought it was going to. And and I talked to my dad that night, and you might have heard me say, like, when we're talking about people in prison and like, there's a life on the inside too. There really is a life in there.
There is absolutely a life in there.
Yep. And a life that you can accept and really just enjoy.
Make the best of
it. Yeah.
Yep.
And my dad, who's never been to jail, who's never committed a crime, he's a factory worker, hillbilly from Tennessee. He told me, he's like, well, son, there's a life on the inside. That was his advice to me. And I was like, yeah, Dad, I guess there's going to have to be, right?
Right.
And, this is the same man that told me about the first time I got married that he's like, I just have 2 words, son, life's over. Life's over.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. And
that's because he never met my fiance.
And my wife. Yeah, he never met.
Not sure if she's still here. You got to cover your bases. You know what I'm saying? I'm kidding. She's perfect. I'm just joking.
She is perfect.
So you go away for the Bucko 9. God,
yep.
God help us. So I met you on that rip.
Yep, you met me on that rip. Yep.
Yeah, that will hold you right there, man.
So yeah, I'd fallen in 2004, and I met you in 2010. Really?
Yeah, 11.
Yeah,
I met you in 2011 because I came in there. I hit that yard on January 11th. I hit the yard January 11th of January 2011. We went to the shoe. I hit the shoe July 31st. I hit the shoe, and I think you hit 7 days later.
Yeah,
because your crap was legendary.
Yeah,
I heard the whole story before you even got there. We knew everything that had happened, man. Because there was for those that have never heard the story before, it just wasn't a cell phone, right? Well, one of the cell phone needed to get rid of. He had to get rid of the cell phone. So Casper decided it might be a good idea if he could, maybe get the thing to the toilet before the cop had a shot of. And then there was some shoving, and didn't the cop get knocked to the ground? And that was the first of the assault charges, like you stopped a cop or something.
Yeah,
I'm not laughing at that because that's not cool.
No, that ain't cool.
It's a little cool.
It's kind of cool.
It's a little cool. It is. It's kind of cool. Yeah, it is. And then they got to go into the crapper to get the phone out, and that's always good for a laugh. You know what I mean? I like it when they got to do the poopy fishing. They're not even catching a buzz out of it. So now you got to explain to us. Take us into doing time, because this changed your life. You hit prison and there was a life on the inside. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So before I went to prison, I was running around with some pretty bad people in California. I was doing a lot of. Oh yeah, let me get back to the sentencing just real quick. The judge had said, "Yeah, I'm going to sentence 1,000,000 man years." Yada yada yada. It was made the newspaper, and then he had told me, he's like, I gave him my little speech. I get it now. How there's cross crime. I tried to be, pseudo intelligent. There's cross crime. The guy who writes a bad check is doing it to buy my drugs, and I get it. And he's like, well, I don't know if anything you just told me was real or bullshit. He's like, but you controlled the meth pipeline from Mexico to Montana. I was like, I'm a computer geek,
Right.
with a stripper
You got me
girlfriend.
all wrong, boss.
Yeah,
You got me all
I didn't have
wrong.
no meth pipeline. And I even looked to my lawyer. I was like, pipeline? He's like, shut up, shut up, shut
Right?
up.
Yeah, don't talk. Just keep
Dude, it
going.
wasn't a pipeline. It was all ghost soap. You know what I mean? It was, 112 grams. That's not a pipeline. And
Hear that,
but
Bellico?
I get what he was saying.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so anyway, before I fell, I was running with some pretty bad cats, and I was running with these NLR dudes in California, and they kind of like, made me,
For
they
those
said,
who don't know the abbreviation,
yeah, is a Nazi lowrider.
there you go.
Yeah. So I was a lowrider on the streets. I ran with the lowriders. They said I was a lowrider. And I do kind of remember a guy telling me, he's like, you're gonna have to make your bones still when you get in. If you ever go to
Right.
prison, you're just not going to be able to say, yeah, I'm a lowrider. You're gonna have to put in work, and and I didn't really know what that meant at the time. And so I get to prison, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a lowrider, and everyone's respecting that. The gang guy at SeaTac, he's like, he puts it in my file, dude's a not NLR. And I mean, literally, dude, when I would go when I went from SeaTac to Oklahoma, like the SIS guys there, they were waiting for me off the plane. Yeah. And they were like, I mean, really, if they would have had like a camera, they would have been like, hey, can I take a picture with you? They were like starstruck, and I didn't understand that. And it wasn't because of my crime. It was because of those 3 letters.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, what the heck? This is bizarre, man. And they were just like, yeah, if you need anything, just let us know. We're going to put you up here. All your dudes are there, and I was like, cool, man. And so I get there, and everyone's accepting me, so I'm just like, all right, this is it. And then I get to Terre Haute from there. I go to Terre Haute from there, and there was a lowrider there at the time, but he was on his way out on just a lateral transfer. It was his time to move.
Right. Yeah. Points or whatever.
And he said, he goes, hey man, he's like, I'm gonna tell everyone you're validated. But if you ever go to a pen, you're gonna have to put in some work, Right. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And so I pretty much have the yard at Terre Haute. That doesn't really mean anything. It's it was a babysitter position, but everyone kind of looked up to me. I was well spoken. All the other gangs looked up to me. I was easy to talk to.
And you weren't playing those games like, let's see if we can make this guy broke and then smash him off the yard, and let's see if we can get this guy to smash that guy. And you get some weird people that get yards and start acting like Hitler.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I'll back up. While I was at SeaTac, there was a bunch of Hammerskins there. I forgot to tell this part. And so I really liked those dudes. So I tipped in and became a Hammerskin too. But I was like, it's 2 different kinds of gangs. The Hammerskins don't consider themselves a prison gang. They're a white supremacy group or whatever. And I'm half Mexican. I had no business even trying to become a Nazi. And I had no hate in my heart whatsoever. Ever. Never, ever, ever have I had hate in my heart. And the people that know me, like even my black friends, they're just like, yeah, Cass, we understand, you did what you had to do. And that I didn't really have to do that. And it's hard to explain to them, but I just accept that that's the way they can understand it. I did what I had to do to survive, but I didn't have to do that to survive. I could have been just a regular independent guy, like you, I could have just stayed in my lane, did my thing, got high, did whatever I want, make wine. But I liked the solidarity of it. Well, what I thought was solidarity, what was told to me, what was promised to me, to be a family, to be, I was looking at a lot of time. Yeah, they had my back. Not that I was in fear. I was never in fear, because SeaTac was soft as cotton. it was just, I just liked the dudes,
you also don't know what you're going into, though. I mean, your first rip, you're at SeaTac. SeaTac's no big deal. It's like any other holding spot. But
yeah,
SOB, man, you're going to hit some yards. Like, there are going to be some yards. Then it ain't no joke in there. And I would have. That was something that I missed. I always like, I didn't want to deal with all of the drama and all the BS that the gang members went through. But it was amazing. Like, I remember one time very specifically when I was on a yard where a dude got in trouble and his guys were and he was in the wrong. Like, he was wildly in the wrong. And his boys just rolled up and were like, yeah, it's nothing's going to happen to him about this, or we're going to kill everybody here. And it was that kind of, and I was like, damn, that would be nice. I really did. But the problem is that never lasts. For all of that you see, they're stabbing each other in the cells that you're not seeing over dope debts and poker.
It's kill Whitey. I would always say that everyone's on kill Whitey time, and it was ugly. But I had to kind of like to see how it all played out, and I couldn't just when I went from Pollock to Hazleton, I was sitting with this skinhead guy on Con Air, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna go there and just keep to myself. And he's like, not me, brother. His name was Country. He's dead now. He got killed in Big Sandy. But he's like, not me, brother. I'm gonna get in there loud and proud. 21-year-old kid, super good kid from Wyoming, but he loved it. He loved the notoriety, the attention, the
drama.
He loved everything I hated about it. And so of course I couldn't land there and be, he's like, no, he's a Hammerskin right here. I'm just like, oh, great, here we go. But anyway, so I get to, I did my time at Terre Haute. I was there for a really long time. I never wanted to leave there. I loved it there. And so I told this story recently on another podcast. I let this Latin King guy move in with me as a favor to the head of Latin King, to my dealer, to my connect. Yeah. He's like, hey, I don't have anyone to put my guy in with over there, but I love you, Cass. Can I put my boy in with you? Because I had the yard there, I had a single cell. They never gave me a cellie. If I wanted to move someone in, that I seen, in the unit, I'd be like, hey man, if I got, bored, but I just like getting high and drawing all night. That's all I did. Yeah. And
that's the perfect place to do it.
Oh yeah, it's perfect there, man. And so anyway, so I'm like, yeah, dude, no problem. As a favor to you, you always looked out for me. He always looked out for me. His name was King Sammy. King Sammy always looked out for me. So I moved this guy named Big Mike in, and he's a raging alcoholic. And I'm a winemaker. And so I was letting him drink, but whenever he drank, he tried to fight everybody. It was just the way it was. That's just the way dudes, super sweetest, nicest guy sober. Soon as he drank, he was trying to fight everybody. And he was doing it. Yeah. And so he had lots of issues with everybody. He was kind of afraid of me just because, he see me getting a couple things. And so luckily I'm glad he did, because if we would have had to have killed each other in the cell. And I'll try to not say that word anymore. But so he gets drunk one night. I'm pulling this batch of wine. I'm giving him a couple bottles off the top, and we're locked down. It's like 11 o'clock at night. But there's no windows in those little squares. Those little in the door. They got the every one of them's broken out. Some of them still have a little window in, but
yeah, when I was there, they were all gone.
He's yelling out those things, FGDs, F Vice Lords. He's just like talking crazy.
Yeah.
So this big dude, I can't remember his name, man. He was super soft spoken, but he could bench 600 pounds, and a big black dude. He was a Vice Lord, and he came up to the thing. He's like, "Hey man, I know you're drunk, so I'm gonna give you a pass, but shut the F up." He's on the other side. He's like, "F you, bro." And this dude had like triple life, for whatever
We
reason.
had nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. And so he came back. He's like, all right, you're alive because of this door. So when there is no door, you're dead. And he told him that. So then this dude, like for like an hour, is just sloppy. Yeah, you dead. I'm dead. The cop comes up and says, hey, shut it down, dude. You're putting me on blast.
Right.
I know you guys. You guys are drunk.
Yep.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
He's
don't
like,
make me look bad.
but you're making me look bad now.
Blowing up the spot.
Yeah, whatever. And he just continues. So what happens? Cop comes up.
Pops the door.
Yep, pops the door, handcuffs him, takes him to the shoe. Straight check-in move, right?
Yeah.
Because dude, he knew dude was a serious dude.
Yeah, it's a
He's
PC move. Dry PC.
Yeah, he's not going to say in the morning when this opens, you're gone, like you're unalived forever. When this opens, he was serious. It wasn't. It
So
was
get
no
up
game.
in the cop's face, let him smell you, and you get shipped to the next yard, and you never look like a coward that ducked the fight.
Yep.
Yeah, the fellas call it a dry PC move.
Right, dry PC move. So when dude owes me a ton of money for all the wine, right?
Yeah.
So he's got a pair. He's got this brand new pair of Nikes. So I keep them for the money he owes me, right?
Fair enough.
Dude goes to the shoe. They're politicking to try to get him to come back out so he can take his licks. They agreed there was just going to be body shots or whatever. He's going to, apologize. He's sober now. He's just like, oh my God, what'd I do? And, but I'm thinking he's never going to come out. So when they come and ask me, and this is the biggest mistake I ever made in my entire prison career. Biggest mistake I ever made. That's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, especially for prison.
Yeah. When King Sammy came and asked me, he's like, hey, brother, do you have Mike's shoes? I said no.
Oh, no.
I said, no, I don't. He's like, all right, cool, man. Takes off. 2 days later, a board member of the GDs, right? A board member. Him and I were like this. His name was OG Ed Beard. Ed's like, yo, Cass, come here, man. Come here myself. Like, what's up, brother? This dude, if I needed a $500 worth of stamps, he'd be like, here you go, Cass. We were like,
get
this.
Back to me.
Yep. He's like, hey, Cass. He's like, man, be honest with me. Do you got old boy shoes? He's like, if you do, it's cool. Well, you know what I mean? I run this, if it ain't going to be no issue, I know the dude owed you money. Do you got his shoes, dude? I said no again.
Oh, were you doped out? What was going through your head?
Super doped out.
That's
dude.
not you, dude.
I know, dude. All I had to say was, yeah, dude owed me money. I kept his shoes. They're mine.
Yeah, screw him.
You can't have them back. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, he's not getting them. I taxed him.
And
he owed me money.
him.
He PC'd up.
And I said the dude checked in.
Yeah, it's a check-in.
He shouldn't be coming back out. And sure enough, man, I don't remember who I sold him to, but the dude who I sold him to ended up giving him to somebody who gave him to somebody, one of those things. And these were exclusive. No one had these knives, right?
Yeah.
Except for this Paisa that just happened to be down in C Block, So, they see the shoes on a boy. They're like, hey, where'd you get those? And he's like, oh, I got them from so-and-so. He's like, okay. They go say, hey, where'd you get those? I got them from so-and-so. Hey, where'd you get those? I got them from Casper. So one day I get to the gym and all my guys are with the Latin King dudes, right?
Oh, Kick Nation.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And my buddy's like, he looks to the other, he's like, hold on. He's like, come on, Cass, let's go spin a lap. So we go outside, we hit the move, we go outside, and we're spinning a lap, and he just tells me, he's like, man, you lied about having shoes. So basically you stole dude's shoes. I said, no, he owed me money. He knows he owed me money. Yeah, I lied. I'm an idiot. I don't know why I lied. but I did, and I don't know why. He's like, all right. He's like, I'm gonna go talk to him. You know, it's probably just gonna be some body shots. We'll have to do it in front of him or whatever. I was like, no, man, I'm not taking no violation. I'm not taking a violation, dude. He's like, well, dude, we're gonna have to go to war then, because they're like, they want it, dude. They're mad. I'm like, yeah, but the dude, he's like, but I got it, dude. I got it. I understood. You know, I've been there. I've rocked people asleep 100 times, took them out, and
Yep.
had dudes stabbed.
Yep.
You know, over less.
Over way less.
So anyway, they're politicking. I'm gonna go do my body shots. You know, I missed the first one, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I missed the move. I forgot. You know, whatever. I gave him some drag.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I have a talk with my friend, dude, and I was like, dude, man, I don't want to be here no more, man. I don't want to be here. I'm exhausted. I don't want to be high anymore. I want to be
Tired of looking
sober.
over my shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm looking over my shoulder. Even before that, you know, I was just like, there's just always too much going on. You know, I owed this, but you know, this person owed me. You know, there was a dude in there that owed me.
That yard was crazy too, man.
Yeah, dude. This dude, Cuban dude, they called him Cuba, a long haired dude. He was a millionaire. He owed me like 16 grand for gambling debts that we would make these big bets on these football games. And of course, you know, I owed like half of that out. And I don't care about that money, but I owe boy $300. And he's like, dude, if you pay your debts, dude, just go up top. If you can pay your debts tonight, just go up top, man, and get out of here. And I was like, oh man, I don't know, man. I don't know. But that's what I did. That's what I did. I did a street to street to Ed. You know, I was like, hey man, Ed, I'm trying to clean up some stuff, man. You know, I'll do a street to street, did a street to street to Ed, got some stamps, paid old boy, paid this other little kitchen debt I had, like 5 books or whatever. Made sure everything was clean. And the next morning when I woke up, I went and turned in a knife and they took me to the shoe. Yeah, it's crazy. It's super crazy. And it was really hard. I felt a lot of shame for that for a long time. But I thought to myself, you know, I didn't do anything wrong, but I lied. You know, I lied to that dude.
You know what? I'll keep it real. I left the yard. It was a similar situation. I was strung out. I've been doing dope forever, and I wanted off the yard. I just did it in a much sleazier way, but I did the exact same thing. And if you know anybody that's done any length of time, if they were getting high, they'll probably tell you the story. I just punched a dude in the head that had been driving me nuts for absolutely ever. Didn't really like him a whole lot. And he was standing in the middle of the day room, and I just sort of walked up like walked up and chin checked that fool as hard as I could, dropped him like he had been shot. But I mean, everybody in the room is just looking at you, shaking their head like, you piece of, you know, it may say whatever on your paperwork, but you know, you just took the L train. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, now it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care. You know, it's that shit's all fake in here, in there.
So
it's real, but the mentality, the ideology, the way people handle themselves, that's all fake, bro.
Yeah.
That little girl on the other side of that wall, that's real. You know what I mean? This conversation, that's real. The love that I have for you, that's real. The love that I'm grown to love this boat, that's all real. That all of that is super nothing to me. And no, I can hold.
I respect that
wherever I go. Huh?
I said I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah.
And you know what? And no one needs to know. That's just you and your honesty. I mean, it's not one of those things that's gonna chase you around. But and then from that point forward, did you continue to party? You just went at it differently.
No, I didn't. I didn't party after that. Actually, I don't think because there was nothing at Black Canyon. Oh, well, I used to buy everyone's Percocets at Black Canyon when they go see the dentist.
Yeah.
But I cleaned that up. So you know how you can, when you go to the mailroom at Terre Haute, you can, the shoe windows are there, right? And of course my cell is right there. And the next day after I did that, and maybe even the same day, all my guys one by one came to see me. And they all just said, dude, we love you. You're good. You know, we all knew, dude, it was time. You just immersed yourself into this place, and you were doing too much. We all seen it coming.
There are yards like that, and I think that this is something that probably doesn't get talked a lot about on prison shows very often. But there are yards you can go to, because I've been to plenty of. Black Canyon's a perfect example. If you show up on the yard at Black Canyon and you want to get in trouble, right, you're going to have to do something really stupid. It's not like a real prison yard, right? They have it under control. Then you go to a place like Victorville, and you can get a gram of smack for like $100. Like, I'm not even joking. And these aren't prison, this is a gram from the street. They're $100, and they're everywhere. And they'll front them to you until you're about $8,000 in debt before anybody even starts getting weird with you. They'll let you get about $8,000 in. So the whole yard's wasted at all times. And you could just watch people. Their life is spiraling out of control. They got to have it worse than they had on the street. And Terre Haute was the exact same way, man. Terre Haute was a dangerous yard. You could get anything you wanted, and you could get it on the front whenever you wanted it.
Yep. I mean, I've been up.
After you left, they put cages in for episodes for the people smoking K2. They welded them right by where you would go to, like where the warden's office and all that is, right out in front of that. They welded cages because they were having so many people that were having episodes on that PCP kind of crap, that K2 stuff that everyone was smoking.
Garbage. Yeah.
Oh,
it's garbage.
With that. I've seen some of the craziest crap though. Some of the best prison stories.
Dude, to do that, they're junk bombs, dude. And what I mean by that, they'll snort a penicillin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they will. Or coffee.
If you tell me this penicillin's going to give you a head change, I'll do it. But
hey, how many times have you seen somebody snort coffee in the feds?
Oh, a million.
Yeah. People do it every day. You'll see guys snorting coffee. I would look at him and go, the guy go, he's never done that? I'd go, no, I put it in a cup and put boiling water on top of it. Crap will blow your mind. You'll love it. Give it a try that way. It won't clog your nose up either. So from there, you hit Black Canyon. There's nothing going on at Black Canyon.
Nothing going on at Black Canyon.
Knowing now everything, how do you knowing what you got, you screw up Black Canyon, which is the softest prison on planet Earth. Of course, I did too. So but we had a good there.
Dude, we had it so good, man. We had it so good there, and I only had 2 years left. Really, I was my outdate was 2011, but I had lost so much good time from the assaults and the phone that it. So I was like planning on leaving I was already like looking at halfway houses when I was at Black Canyon. I ended up doing 3 more years. Crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so all my guys came and said, man, we love you. This is had to happen. We're not gonna, no one's gonna smite you up or forward your name or anything like that. And I was like, no, wherever I go, I'm gonna put it out there. This is what I did. This is how it happened. This is why. And if there's a problem with that, there's a problem with that. Now, having said that, that's when I was still delusional that these are my brothers that love me. You know what I mean? Right. The brothers I had at Terre Haute, they did love me, but the brothers that I had that have never met me, you tell them that story, they're gonna kill me. But I don't know that, right? I don't know that. This is my first rip.
Yeah.
So we'll go to Black Canyon. I screw that up royally. But I met you, and God's plan, it's all coming together right now. We were exactly where we were supposed to be.
I know both of us screwed up the softest prison in the whole world. I mean, if you want to do your time, that's where you want to do your time. And I end up going from there to Lewisburg, and you end up going to Pollock. Like if you said pick 5 places that you don't want to go in the BOP, you would have put Lewisburg and Pollock in your top 5.
Top 5, top 3.
Top 3, I guaranteed. Yeah, we looked at each other and just went, wah,
What's harder than those two?
I mean, it really was a buzzkill. Like, hey, how was Prisneyland? now you're going to the penitentiary.
Yeah.
So tell me about the Pollock trip. What was that like?
So, man, I get to Pollock, and when you get to Pollock, it's in a swamp, bro.
Literally, yeah.
It's gloomy. There was no sun. The prison walls are like a slate dark gray. And when you get there at the 4 o'clock count. And so there's like 20 of us got off the bus, like 7 of us are hitting the yard, the rest checked in. But it was one of those yards. It was Warden O'Brien. He's a warden that fixes USPs. He goes USP to USP. Usually when I say, hey, I was with Warden O'Brien, everyone's like, oh, O'Brien's the shit, man. That's the dude, Anyway, so he's in there. He's like, dude, if there's anything bad, if you checked in at the last spot, if you told on your paper, if there's anything, I don't care if you told on somebody for stealing a piece of candy when you're 7, don't come out on this yard. They're gonna find out. And you're gonna get crushed. So of course I'm just like, nah, I'm good. My paperwork's good. I'm good. I'm the shit. I was a shot caller on this yard. I'm gonna come shot call this yard.
Yeah.
And that I didn't think I would be the shot caller, but I was like, I'm good. No one's. They're gonna call back to the last yard. They're gonna say he's good. My docket sheet's gonna be, everything's gonna be good. And so I get there, and there's a guy there that I know who loves me, and he's already made, this dude named Doyle. He's a skinhead. And Doyle's like, yeah, Casper's here, hell yeah. There was a lowrider dude there that had heard of me, and I'd heard of him. So, he came and met me, and he's like, right on, brother. Gave me a big bag of, my welcome package, soups, shoes, yard dog. Gave me some yard dog and some sweats and everything. And man, I landed. It was cool. I landed good. I had a tattoo machine in my hand by 8 o'clock. I had 3 grams, by 9 o'clock, for bed. Dude let me borrow his binky for the lockdown.
It's on and cracking.
I was like, dude, thank God, thank God. And my cellie made wine.
Yeah. So you're home.
The only thing I was missing was a cigarette. And but I was like, man, this is great. I'm home. I'm a little worried about the way it all went down there, but I'm ready to explain. So the people that had this yard was the ABTs.
Oh no.
He's had this yard. I know, man. I know. Of course, they want to meet me, so I go out there, and dude's a little squirrely dude, the power has gone to his head. One of those dudes,
Yeah.
Didn't look tough, but he's got 50 guys ready to kill whoever he says,
Yeah.
to take out. So man, every time I tell my story, my mouth gets really dry. Isn't that weird?
No, makes perfect sense. Happens to me too. If I go on someone's show where I got to do my own story, always happens to me.
When I was on Inside True Crime, it was, dude, I was like, what is going on? Yeah. Dude had no water, didn't offer me no water, no nothing, dude. Luckily, I had water in my rent-a-car. Yeah.
Checks out.
Yeah, dude, dirtbag. But anyway, no, I love Matt, but I don't know. Anyway. So anyway, so of course, they're like, okay, well, you got to put in some work, you're up next. If anything, happens in your unit or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. So in my unit, there was 3 skinheads. I had just gotten there. So let me back up. So when I got there, I get out to the yard, and I'm just talking to
everybody. That is a group of people from Texas, white boys, the
Aryan Brotherhood of Texas.
Yep. Texas. Yeah. And they don't get along with they don't get along with anybody.
They don't get along with anybody.
They don't get along with anybody.
But they pretend to.
Yeah.
So anyway, so when I'm out there, I was like, hey, is there anything on the table? And they're like, no, everything's good. We just had this little thing with some of your comrades, but it's all cleaned up. You're good. But what I don't know, I find out later, they're plotting on me.
Right.
They're like, they're going to get me because they're worried about me talking to Rooster and my buddy Sparky that's in the shoe at the time, because ABTs and the skinheads got into it, but the skinheads found out, so that they went in and booked a couple of guys that slept in that didn't come out.
Oh, no way.
And that's
Wow.
on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's against
Should
the
have been
rules.
suited and booted.
Yeah, should have been suited and booted. It's a USP. It's one of the most vicious USPs in the country.
What were they doing?
So that all happened. Oh, it was over a card game. Someone felt disrespected. So, but dude's like, you know, I got a knife. You know, well, I got a knife too. But anyway, so that all happened just before I got there. And I know both of those dudes, and they're both good dudes. And so I'm assuming it was all foul on the ABT side.
Right.
But you know, my name's Paul, and that's between y'all. So
Right.
I'm chilling, but they're plotting on me, but I don't know it. But I'm up next, right? So we go out to yard. They say, "Hey, Cass," and there was 2 Aryan Circle dudes in the
Utah boys.
in the pod. Well, this 3rd Aryan Circle comes off the bus, and the ABT dude, he was a big dude, this big dude, but the ABT dude has us all at the yard and has this paperwork that said he told on a guy in a murder trial. And so the dude's got to go, right?
Yeah.
There's only the 2 AC dudes that are there. They're like, well, we can't, we need help. This dude's big, you know? So they're like, hey, Cass, you're up anyway.
Get your piece and go to work.
Yeah, it's time for you to go. I'm like, all right, well, I'll come up from behind the dude and hold him while you guys do whatever you need to do, right? So anyway, so that's what happens. We rock him to sleep. Hey, man, come on outside. Or, you know, hey, let's go, come over and look at the computer. We're rocking him to sleep. We do our thing. I'm not going to get into the details, but it lasted a long time. Like, it literally was like, where are these cops, man? I'm like, I'm praying to God that they come stop this
Before
there's an unalive, right?
Yeah.
And so they finally come. We all go to the shoe. Dude gets out of the hospital, comes to shoe. He's like, and the whole time it's happening, he's like, what'd I do? What happened? What'd I do? What'd I do? Right. And I'm just like, man, I'm just doing what you got to do. You know, that's what I'm thinking in my head. Like, he's got to understand this is, you can't.
I've been ordered to do this, fool.
Yeah. And so we're in the shoe, and he's like, what happened? And Doyle, he's on the door. By this time, I don't like Doyle anymore.
Right.
He's a dope fiend that doesn't pay his bills. His mom is disabled, barely making it on the streets.
Healing her for every penny she's got.
Yep, 600 pounds overweight, and her health's bad. That's what I mean by saying her weight. Her health's really bad, and he would just like, Mom, they're gonna kill me in here. They're gonna kill me in here. And I mean, I had to check him on it. So I hate this dude, right? Basically. Yeah. So he jumps down at the door. He's like, F you, man, you effing rat, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Doyle, get off the door, man. You're not going to be a cell warrior because you didn't do shit when we, in there.
Yeah. Now you're tough.
The dude's face, but now you're tough. You needed me to come, to help all you dudes do this. Because Doyle had to go too, right?
The further adventures of Cell Warrior.
Yeah. So I was like, get the F off the door, dude. And he's like, man, just leave me alone, man. I'm just, F him. He's right. You're sticking up for the I was like, man, just get the F off the door, dude. Or I smash you, bro. And I did. And dude, like they were handing the trays. You know how when you're in the shoe and they hand the trays through, like you don't get to take the trays and look to see which one has more food and hand the other one away.
Bad form.
The tray comes in. What's the rule? The tray comes in. You hand it.
Yeah.
It's whatever you get, right? But he was getting 3 trays and like taking the one with the biggest grapefruit or taking the one with the biggest piece of chicken, right?
You ain't gonna make any friends with that. You ain't making any friends with that.
Yeah. I end up smashing him anyway. But anyway,
I saw that coming.
Yeah. Dude. I'm safe, but I'm not soft, bro.
Yeah.
No that's my saying. Yeah.
No question.
So So
So you're in. Yeah, you've already
yeah,
you've
dude,
done your.
what happened? We're like, so I finally get on the door. It's like, man, come on, bro. Dude showed the paperwork of you testifying against old boy in the murder trial, this in a state case. You know, I'm sorry, brother, but it had to happen. I know I lied to your face.
Murder case. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, saw that coming.
He says, yeah, I did testify, brother, for the defense. I testified for the defense, man. He's like, so I don't know what paperwork you read, but you must have read something. But if it said that I testified, I was like, man,
oh no,
to be honest, bro, I really didn't read it. I was on an AC mission with your brothers. You know what I mean? You need to talk to them. You're a big dude. I was big at the time. I'm tiny now, but I was like 275 or whatever I was.
Yeah,
I was like, I had to go on the mission. He's like, Cass, he's like, I understand, bro. He's like, but you guys are all foul for not reading that paperwork, man. But the AC cat says, no, I read it. I just read where he had to go and testify and that he was on the list as witnesses.
Yeah.
But it was for the defense, brother. But check it out. That ABT dude knew that. So
he
foul.
sent you there as a trash test dummy.
Yeah. That he's not alive either now. He's gone too.
Those are games you can't play. You're gonna get caught.
They got him at Florence. Yeah. And so that's why when I say, dude, we're so lucky to be sitting here alive, bro. When you think of all the cats that you knew and that you were with, that they're no longer breathing, it's not an exaggeration, brother.
Both of my cellies from the SMU are gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had two cellmates in the SMU. They're both dead. One got killed at Victorville and the other got killed at Florence.
Yeah. Well, so that's why when people tell me at church, they're like, man, God's got something big for you, brother. God's got something big for you. And I'm like, well, he needs to tell me what it is because I'm out here flailing, man.
You're not. You're in the middle of it. No, you're not.
No, I know. I know that now. This is like a year ago. I'm like, I'm trying to do it, man, and I'm frustrated. I'm making bad decisions, but even the bad decisions are the right decisions because I'm either learning or I'm getting a new connection or something's growing, but I don't see it. It's just like old boy in the Bible, and I'm not trying to preach the Bible to people. I'm sorry. It's just like old boy in the Bible who was. His brothers tried to kill him twice. They sent him into slavery, and he ends up being the number 2 man of Israel. I can never. Is it Abraham? It's not Abraham. Is it Abraham? I always forget his name, man. I need to start reading my Bible more. But anyway,
yeah, you do. Burn it.
I do, man. But it's like that. You just don't know. He doesn't know. Eventually, he's going to be the number 2 man in Israel. Not that we're going to achieve that kind of greatness, but
why not?
That's God's way. He put that in the book to tell us that, like, even through all the adversity, he's got a plan, and we just have to just go with it and lean in and abide in God and all of the things, right?
Hey, I'm not ruling out the Joseph story for me, man, and I don't think you should either. You never know what heights. But
right. So anyway,
so from there you go back to Terre Haute then, but you go to the USB.
No, I went from there, I go to Hazleton.
Oh, the Hazleton. God help us, dude. You couldn't get your break.
Yeah. So from there, I go to Hazleton, but now I go to Hazleton as going on a bad mission, right? Everything's bad, dude.
You attacked the wrong dude, and it looked like you did it.
So now that I can't walk on a yard with Aryan Circle, I can't walk on the yard with ABTs. Not by me. The SIS knows this.
Right,
from their investigation. That's their guys saying, we got the dude's in the hat with us. He can't be, we all, he's a separatee from all anywhere. Yeah. So I get to Hazleton, and they're not the 2 gang members that are there. Dano's one, and some other cat. I can't remember. Anyway, it's not important. He's gone too, actually. Flair, his name was Flair. Yeah. And so they're telling SIS we're not letting any other more gang members hit the yard. So when you get off the plane, you're going right into the shoe, and they're going to send you somewhere else, right?
Yeah. Captain's hold.
Yeah, captain's hold. But captain comes to me and he's like, "Hey man, these dudes, they want to know, do you got an issue with, AW or it's a up north, it's a northern skinhead gang." Yeah. And I was like, "I have no issues at all." He's like, "Well, man, I'm shipping gang members left and right." He's like, if you say you're good, and I talk to these guys and they say, "Yeah, you're cool to come out as long as you don't, do you want to hit the yard?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I want to hit it, right?" And I'm tired of doing shoot time, bro.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You'd like to catch a bag, do a little tattooing, maybe drink something.
Yeah. I'm doing almost 3 or 4 years all together in the shoe by the time I get out. And so I said, "Yep." So I get to the yard, and old boy's there. He had a nickname. It was like I want to say it's Yum Yum, just like old boy, but it's not. It's like Twinkie or something. It's a weird, softer. Yeah, it's like a cake or I can't remember, because I used to just call him Hostess or something. I would call him Hostess. But so anyway, so I go out there, but something happened, and I gotta go, right? And so I'm just like, what the hell? And so boy tells me this other dude, he's like, "Dude, no, they're plotting on you for some reason. They think you're gonna hit old boy because of something that happened." Or I was like, "Dude, I don't know anything about anything. Right. I'm not emailing people." Yeah, I'm not that dude. I'm not emailing like, "Hey, what's up with this dude? Hey, what's up?" You know how they use that inmate.com email.
Yeah.
Street to street to prison to this to that. They're
get
trying
your
to
girl to look this up. Get your guy. Your brother's doing this for you.
Yeah. So they're gonna so they're asking me. Dude comes out, the dude that's supposed to get me, right? He comes and puts his arm around. He's like, "Hey, Cass, let's go to the law library." I was like, "No, I'm good, man. I'm good." He's like, "No, come on, man, let's go to the law library." I was like, "Man, I'm good, man." He's like, "All right." And I see him. He's like looking at me and walks over to the guy, to the rep who has the unit, right? So they both come out. He's like, "Come on, man, we want you to read this thing at the law library." I'm like, "No, man, I'm good." I gotta call my dad, man. So I go down to the phone and I pretend I'm making a phone call. And I'm watching them, and they're both standing on the rail like this, like that, just staring at me, right? Like laughing. And I'm just like, I'm like, damn, what's my move? What's my move?
Right.
And they're like laughing, they're pointing, and one of them's that kid who I came with, because he's got to put in work, right? The Duke Country that was on the plane, who's no longer alive, because he was loud and proud, like he said he was going to be, right?
Yeah.
So he's the one who's got to get me. So I'm like right there, and then they call the move, man, and like it was like the light just shined down. They called the move. And the move's coming. People are coming. The cops standing at the door. I'm like 40 feet from the door. I'm just like, yeah. I'm pretending to be talking on the phone. And as the door's shutting, I just make a run for it, bro. Woo, woo, woo. And I literally just like slide through the door as it shuts. And the yard cop's outside. He's like, hey, get back in there. Get back in there. I was like, "Man, these dudes are going to kill me, man. These dudes are going to kill me. I don't know why, but I was told they're going to get me." He's like, "Well, did you see him? Did they?" I was like, "Dude, trust me.
Dude,
I'm not high. I'm not paranoid. They're going to get me." He's like, "All right, man, come on." And they took me to the shoe. And they were going to get me. And Dano had a part of that, right?
Yeah, Dano got his brother.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know he did.
Yeah, I was standing there for that one. It was the worst thing I ever saw in prison. The worst thing I ever saw in prison.
Yep.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy, though. You know how many people he had 5 bodies, 6 bodies. He's a bad person,
Yeah.
man. He really
Yeah,
does.
he's a
He's a
bad person,
genuine
dude.
bad person.
Yep.
And he allegedly essayed to Sully. So he was a weirdo too. Creep.
Yeah. And so here's the deal. You look, you and I are sitting here alive today with love in our hearts. We're not bitter. We're not resentful.
So did you go to Terre Haute after that?
No. Why do you think I never went back to Terre Haute?
Oh, I thought you were at the USP at Terre Haute.
No, I went to the USP when I was at the Medium for a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I misunderstood where you're at.
Oh,
I was trying to see if you
like,
ran into. I got a friend named JC that was at that yard. I was wondering if you would run into him. He's a mad man.
I never hit the yard. I was in the shoe there at the Terre Haute USP. Maybe I misspoke or you misunderstood.
I could. I you know what, man? We hit so many damned yards. That's the yard. Well, they do transeg a bunch of people there too. That's how I ended up there. I got transeg from there across the street. But that was the shoe that has the death row guys above it, and they used to sell tobacco through the vent.
Yeah.
If you're on death row with the feds, you can buy tobacco. And those guys sell it to everybody in the shoe. And I mean, if you gotta spend the rest of your life in prison, that's probably a pretty easy way to do it. Those guys do a slightly easier time.
Yeah,
it has been. What a journey! I mean, for real, what an incredible journey.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing sadder to me. I've had this conversation with a lot of guys in the past. To me, the saddest thing in the world is a big homie. The saddest thing in the world. You look at a guy that's 65 years old and he's got the gang ink all over him and he's still politicking, and they're talking about, a youngster that's coming in that needs to put work in, and you're looking at him just going, really, bro? What do you got?
Yeah.
45 years into gang banging? I mean, this is your retirement plan. This is what you've decided to do with your life. I couldn't have been happier. Honest to God, I couldn't. It never made sense to me, brother. You just don't.
Well,
you don't.
The guys that are supposed to be in there are in there.
Yeah. Oh, no question.
And that's their world. Yep.
Yeah.
And you know what?
You knew Kenny. You knew Cadillac Kenny. I mean, this is a guy that was a skinhead. He's got a rebel flag on the top of his head and gold teeth, and he pissed his life away. They put him on the porch, gave him an opportunity to join up on some books that have been closed for years, and said, you'll just owe us one. And I remember having the conversation with him, and I said to him, dude, don't do this. He goes, well, it's too late now. I go, no, that's the beautiful thing. It's not. Like your feet get cold as hell. He was in the SMU with me. We used to talk through the cage every day. I'm like, bro, you can ride this thing all the way up till the time where they go, all right, you got to go to get rid of that dude permanently. Maybe peel off the lieutenant's office at that point, because this seems like a really bad idea to me. But he goes, bro, I got 27 years. You know how long that is? And here's the insane thing. I was doing the math. That fool would have 3 years left. Right?
Yeah.
How long ago all of this went down? But he paid off. He delivered on the body. And it is what it is. It's his world. I stood there as that fool made the decision. I'm not kidding. Like, he was telling all of us, hey man, I got invited. He was so damn proud. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm going to be a made man. I'm like, you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison on purpose? On purpose?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And let's be honest. It's the heroin brotherhood. You can call it whatever you want, but
it's the heroin brotherhood.
If you hit a yard and you're trying to find the dope, find those boys, because they got it.
Yep.
Every yard you go to, those boys have got it. They're abusing the hell out of it. I was always shocked at the amount of dope, especially the California yards. Like when I was at Victorville, the amount of chemicals that were in the prisons were astounding. Like, I'm not joking. I remember sitting in the unit and they had the shabibs, they had the speed, and people were getting just completely jacked. And I said to a friend in there, I'm like, I'm going to kill my cellie. Like, he hasn't slept in 3 days. You know what I mean? And he fidgets with stuff all night long and like plays on his bunk, and it's just driving me crazy. And he goes, why don't you go get him some Valium or something? I'm like, Valium? I'm like, you got Valium on the yard? He's like, yeah, I get you some Valium. Like, those fools had everything you could possibly want.
Bro. Yeah.
Everything. I watched guys out there playing Frisbee and they're giggling. I'm like, I could not have that much fun in prison. And this old black dude goes, well, they tripping on that acid. And I'm like, in prison? Can you imagine taking dose inside? Oh
yeah.
my God. That's speed. Guys would say to me, hey man, you want a free bag of speed? No. Sleep the entire time I'm in here. I wanted to walk in the door, lay down to go to sleep and have him wake me up and go, Tommy, it's time to go. It's time to go.
Pull it up.
Right? Roll your stuff up.
roll
You're leaving. The last thing in the world I wanted to do was stay awake for like 5 days, in prison.
Yeah,
those
those walls and fences ain't high enough for me to do speed, bro. They're not high enough, bro. I'd be gone.
No, exactly. Yeah. No, that's, and I always said that, guys I never used a binky inside. I never did. I never went down that road. And there were times that it meant I wasn't going to get, that was the only way people were doing it. They were like, you're doing it this way, you're not doing it. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. And I'm not saying I didn't slam any in there because I slammed plenty, but every time it was because I had to connect in medical and I could get a brand new syringe in plastic and I'd use it for 2 weeks. And when that thing dulled out, I'd sell it and quit, go back to smoking it or going back to doing whatever. Cause it was just too nasty. But I was, it's crazy how hard people go to the paint in there.
It is, bro. It is. I did. I know. I did. I used to be like, dang, Cass. They'd be, dang, Cass, you're living in here like it's the streets, bro. I was like, man, my dad told me, man, there's a life on the inside. He did, man.
You were in a unique position. You were in a very unique position. A binky is a boodikaboo. A binky is when you take, so a regular syringe, we all know what they look like. It's got a plunger on it. That plunger can be pulled out, right? If you're pulling fluid up into it, then when you press the plunger down, it pushes the fluid back out of it. Those wear out. And then what happens is you get something on the end of it. Like picture an eyedropper. Eyedroppers make really great binkies. It's just instead of having a syringe, there's just a little bulb on the end. And a lot of times what you'll use is just a little piece of plastic, like from the milk. There you go.
Yeah. So we would cut it here. So it would just be that, right? This one's trash. So it would just be that. And then there'd be like a little squeeze thing, like from an eyedropper. And then you squeeze it and suck in the drugs, and then it flags itself, and it's disgusting.
I was at Terre Haute.
This is for my vitamin B12, by the way. I just want to put it out there. Yeah,
I wasn't worried. But they had a big table out. They had a big table out in front of the warden's little office thing for Thanksgiving. And they had but they had this big fake cornucopia of fruit, right? And this old man says to me, he goes, brother, I need 4 of those plastic grapes. I was like, what? He goes, the plastic grapes, man. He's like, you need to steal me 4 of those plastic grapes because I swept the hallways. And I'm like, dude, I said, I'm not going to lose my job over 4 plastic grapes. He's like, I'll give you a 50 paper. I'm like, how about I give you 12 of them? Right? give me 150. And he's like, no, man, just bring me 4 of them. But that's what he did with them. I brought him things. I'm like, the hell do you want these for? And then I would see him in the unit with the squeezing the plastic grape at the end of that thing.
Yeah.
And then they sharpen them. You watch them sharpen them with a matchbook, and they're going like this.
Sharpening
that thing up.
I've had one that's been that big before, like the point on it. But we would use these too, the black things from pens.
Yep.
You know,
and then you just put a plug on the end.
You put a plug on the end, and then you squeeze that.
And tie that thing tight on there.
Yeah. So anyway,
that is what a binky is. I never went down that road, but I used to watch, and this is a true story too. I had this old Mexican dude that I used to hit, and I would get him in his neck. He would cook a speedball up every morning and then skin pop it. So if you're new to that terminology, he wasn't putting it in the vein. He was just sticking it into his body. And I'd say to him, you can't be feeling that. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to really do much, is it? He's like, well, you feel a little bit of the blow. And then when that wears off, you can feel, and I'm like, I said, I can hit that thing on your neck. And he's like, oh, I'll let you hit it. He's like, if you miss it, I swear to God, I'm going to kill you. And I was like, I don't know if I want to. But I would go in there every morning and I would just go and hit him in the neck like that. And then he would give me a little, crack me off a piece for doing it. And I would get him every morning. And that thing, you'd be pushing like this, and the neck would be going in like this. You'd be like, dude, we'll get it in there. We'll get that thing in there. There's some of the grossest stuff I've ever seen in my life, man. How about this? You know the spray bottles? You know the spray bottles that you use to clean stuff? I saw a guy that had the tube of one of those. And on the bottom of it, they had made a needle out of the air pump, the thing you pump up a basketball with. I'm not joking you, dude.
Wow.
They got this thing in a guy's arm, and there's a dude blowing the stuff into his vein. And I'm looking at him just going,
dude,
like, you got to be kidding, right? How is this even possible? Like the scar you're going to put on that dude.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It really is. But there's a lot of foulness that goes on in it. So tell me now, bring everybody up to speed on how the heck you turned a 5-year tail into a little bit longer than, or did you have a 3-year tail? What was yours?
5.
Had a 5-year tail that took 10 years to get clean.
Yeah. Yep. 5-year. I had a 5-year tail. So I get to the halfway house in Hollywood. It's called Vinewood. And so I get to Vinewood. It's on and popping there, at the halfway house. We're literally a block away from the Walk of Stars on Hollywood Boulevard. And it's co-ed, so everyone's got, there's like a little, it's like a motel, and it's got like got like a courtyard in the center. And I get there and I come out and everyone's sitting there and everyone's like holding hands with girls, and I'm just like, what the heck is going on? But everyone was all dating each other and talking, and we'd all sit out at the picnic table. It's California, the weather's beautiful, and but I leave with a habit. I leave with a habit, and so I brought some with me for the bus ride. It was a 3-day bus ride. I bring some with me. And I get there and I start, like, I'm going to be sick if I don't get something. And all I can find is Suboxone. And I'm just like, well, that's just going to have to work. Right. Yeah. So, you have to like let yourself get pretty sick before you can do it. Or, now I know better, you can do it because you go into hyper withdrawals if you do it too soon. And
right.
And so I end up just transitioning to Suboxone. And I'm getting him from this Armenian power dude. He's an AP. His name was Stomper. Super good dude, man. I love that dude. And so me and Stomper are really good friends. He's an Armenian cat from Glendale. And I'm committing crimes like right away. Right when I get there, I'm doing like this bank stuff. And with some of the girls that are there, where we're like depositing checks and withdrawing thousands of dollars on each check, and I do that almost my entire time there. I'm getting high. I'm doing that. I'm beating the UAs because they're not going in with me. It was perfectly made to make it for a guy like me. It was all just perfect. The rooms were nice. The people were cool. I was tattooing. I end up hooking up with an Armenian dude. He was a gay member who had a tattoo shop. I'm saying I'm going on job search, but I'm going to this tattoo shop and I'm tattooing. And because I couldn't tattoo while I lived there, I had to have a real job with it. So
yeah.
So anyway, so I'm doing that. So I'm continually using. So fast forward to my 6 months are up, and I'm moving out of the halfway house. I give my PO my first dirty, and he's pretty cool about it. He's like, "Look, we're good. Let's come up with a plan. You need to start going to some meetings, and doing that, and and we'll just stop using." But I can't. I'm tattooing. I end up connecting with a black hand dude that was at the halfway house. We're doing our thing out there. I'm getting a lot of tar for pennies, and I'm doing that and the bank stuff at the same time. And I'm giving my PO. I'm beating some of the UAs, but I'm not able to beat some of them.
Dropping some hots, yeah.
Yeah, I'm dropping some hots. Fast forward, I end up giving my PO 25 dirties for H before he
God
sends
help
me
us.
back. Yeah.
They violate me on my very first one. I don't know how that happens to other people, but
You're supposed to
they
get
must
3
hate me.
you go to court.
Yeah. Well, I never got a 3. I get 1 and they would take me to jail every single time.
Yeah.
That was a wrap. Yeah. But I mean, they also my file. You remember my file? I mean, it's all heroin. My whole file is just all
Yeah.
smack. So
And
they figure if I start doing it, they better get me locked up.
right. And just to back up real quick, when I left, when I was on the phone and faking and took off and went to the shoe, at that moment I made a decision to drop out of my gang. And that's what I did. I dropped out. And I gave all the reasons why. I didn't have to debrief or anything or tell on anybody. Everyone's like, well, you got to debrief. No one has to debrief. You just, swear a statement that I'm no longer going to be a part of this gang. I've had, 2 incidences at 2 USPs. That's the proof. That's all the proof you need. I got it. I went on a bad move. You guys know I can't walk yards with ACs or ABTs. I'm dropping out. This isn't the life for me anymore. And then they sent me to a dropout yard. And then I was only there for like 7 months and then I went home. Or maybe a little longer than that. I can't remember. But I was in the shoe for 15 months before I made it there,
No.
So anyways, and that's when I went to Vinewood. I was at the Deuce at Coleman. Yeah.
And you didn't run into a dude named JC down there? White dude, big white dude?
I'm sure I did.
Good dude, man. Almost the same thing exactly that happened to you happened to him. I mean, almost exactly. They hit a dude because there was paperwork that said the guy testified, and he did, but he didn't testify the way they thought he did. I mean, it was honestly almost exactly. Why can't you work at a tattoo shop while you're in the halfway house?
Oh, because you have to have a pay stub. Right. And it's a cash only, basically. Yeah, we do accept credit cards and Venmos and Cash App, but your PO needs to see a pay stub. The halfway house needs to see a pay stub. It's just too wide open.
Sometimes too, they will say to you, I don't want you working like I didn't have an opportunity. They said to me, you're going to do manual labor. I mean, honestly, my PO was like, you're not going to make a living using your mouth. If you're talking to make a living, I don't want you doing it. You need to go out and do something other than that. And I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I got a job at a shipyard. But I also went to a way different halfway house. If you talked to a member of the opposite sex, you got written up. If you got 2 of those write-ups, they sent you off of the out of the facility. Like women would walk up and go, "Hey, how you doing?" And it was like the relationship Tourette's, except I was going, "Leave me alone. Get away from me! Don't talk to me! Don't talk to me!" Like I was so afraid to go back to prison, bro. I was sitting one day. I'm sitting in there, and I hadn't done a damn thing wrong. I've been at this halfway house. I'm doing everything right, and I had to go for my first job interview. And on the way back home, I got 2.5 hours to kill. Right, and I'm like, what? Screw it. I went and got a vape. Right, I hid the vape. I got it, in the little spot in your boxer briefs that you can stash stuff like you would inside. So I got the pouch. I come in, they do the pat down. Everything is groovy. I go upstairs. I'm vaping in my little room, which you're not supposed to do. And I'm just in there blowing clouds, having a good time. I got my feet up, and I look out the window and I watch the van pull up, and the slider opens, and like 3 guys go out on each side, and they're just running as fast as they can. Another van comes up. I'm like I'm running around, I'm blowing the vape stuff, and obviously they're not there for me. Like they're not bringing in the U.S. Marshals to do a raid on the halfway house for the guy vaping. But I am upstairs convinced that these dudes. So I'm sneaking out in the hall, like I'm gonna go stash this vape thing in the bathroom. And as I'm coming out the hall, they're coming up, and they go into my room. I'm in the bathroom having a heart attack, and it was actually my bunkie they came in for. Turns out he wasn't actually going to work. He was slinging. But they came deep, but it stopped my heart, man. It stopped I was so afraid to go back to prison, bro. Honestly, I've told the story, but my friends we worked at a shipyard. The guy goes, "Hey, man, we're going to a party tonight. We got 4 hours. We didn't have to be at work because they told us to go home early." And our boss was like, "I'm not calling the halfway house. So if you want to take 4 hours to get home, you guys got to do whatever you want to do. Just make sure you're home by the normal time." And they're like, "Hey, we're going to this party," and he's like, I said, nah, dude, there'll be drugs or whatever. He goes, no, but there'll be girls. These are working girls. These are hookers. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go. They were just looking at me like I was nuts. Dude, you've been in prison. What the hell's wrong? I'm like, I know what'll happen. If I go to that party, they're kicking the doors in. That'll be the night they raid the place. You know what I mean? That's just my luck. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
I was paranoid, dude. I was paranoid.
So anyway, so they so I end up giving him 25 dirties. And for real, so this was my PO deal. He's like, look, I know you're committing a felony every day by in possession of drugs, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, but you're doing good. You're working. Every time I see you, you look clean. You got a car. You know, I see you. You know, I see you're posting stuff, and I'm like, yeah. And he let me ride, but he got a new supervisor. The supervisor was of another race
and they said 25 dirties.
And the dude was an ex-skinhead, you know, and he's like, no, he's going back. He should have went back on the third one. And so they sent me back, you know, they restarted my probation. What else? So anyway, so they sent me back. So when I live in California, but when I violate, I have to see my sentencing judge. Right. My sentencing judge is in Montana. So I got to fly Con Air to Montana, and that takes almost 2 months.
Yeah.
And then I go up there, see the judge. They do whatever. They give me a 90-day turnaround.
Already done.
Yeah, my violation's already done, really. And so I did that. Went back. So I ended up opening a tattoo shop with some of the proceeds that I made, you know, from all my little hustling. And if that's what you know, so to speak. And that's all I did. I just tattooed and came back, was getting high, and then I went back. And that's really it. It was just from, you know, getting dirty ways. So on my second violation, when I went back to Montana, the judge said, you're not going home. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, when you get out, I'm not spending, you know, 50 grand for you to come up here and then to go back to prison. You're going to stay here. If you can't get it right, you're staying here. And I fought it. You know, I was going to get a lawyer and I was going to fight it. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stay. I'm just going to stay here. The judge, man, like it. And I've talked to this judge because I needed her permission to go to, I was going to go to Poland on a mission with my church. And I had to get an expedited passport and I was doing all the things, but I had to get permission from her. And we just laughed and talked about where I was and where I'm at today. And, you know, she's like, I remember you arguing with me about going to California. She's like, well, now what do you think? And I was like, Judge Waters, you know, it wasn't Siebel because he got fired in the Obama administration. Right. Her name's Judge Waters, and her and I are like, we're so close, me and this judge. And but anyway, yeah. She's like, yeah, it was the best thing that ever happened. It was the best decision everyone ever made on my behalf, was to make me stay in Montana.
Those are the little miracles. I've told the story before, but I was at the halfway house, and as I'm about a week away from going home. I'm on my last week, and I leave my job. So now I'm just dead time. I'm sitting around the halfway house doing nothing, doing this one. Everybody in there's getting high. And I got a call from a doctor that said, hey, I'm your new psychiatrist. I'm like, man, I've had 5 of them, man. F off. You know, if your mom, like, I just got raw on this person. I'm like, I'm not talking to you. Like, I was really uncool. And she goes, well, you sound scared. And I'm like, well, yeah, genius. I'm like, I'm 5 days. I'm going home. I'm like, she goes, what are you afraid of? I'm like, heroin. You know, I'm going to do it. It's just a matter of, you know, it's not if, it's when. And she was like, well, you need to be on Suboxone. She said, it's a 6-month process. I'm like, I got 3 days, 4 days. Like, this isn't going to work. And it was funny because they sent the paperwork off. And when it came back, they had written on the top of it, there's you check a box and it says good candidate, bad candidate. Right. And they wrote the candidate. For real. Like this is the fool that needs to be on this crap. Maybe we could keep him out. But I talk to her all the time. I'll call that doctor every 3 or 4 months and just tell her, I'll tell her the size of the channel. I'll be like, yeah, we just broke 10,000. We just broke 15,000.
That's cool, man.
You know what? It takes about 150 of those people along the way. If you're going to go from being in prison to being free, you're going to need a couple of people that are going to have to maybe go out on a limb for you. My probation officer, man, when it came time for me to get sentenced for the violation and all that, I had 6 years that they could have doled out for the violation alone. And when he got up there, the judge was like, and we got 6. And my PO stood up and said, yeah, we want to run that at the same time, Your Honor. And the judge goes, you can't do that. And he goes, no, you can. He goes, I looked it up. It's just a guideline. He goes, you don't have to run it consecutive. It could run concurrent. And I ended up getting hooked up. I did do, they gave me 1 year on the violation instead of 6, which was epic.
Yeah.
Just a good dude. He didn't have to do that, but there's been a lot of those people along the way. We talk a lot about the bad people, that because like I got beat up by a lot of cops, and you talk about the cops that beat you up. There's been a lot of really good people along the way that have actually gone out of their way to try to help you get your life back in order.
Yeah.
But that's probably the best move they ever did for you, bro. Get you out of Cali.
Yep. They got me out of the cesspool. They got me out of, if I even get close to Cali, like I drove a U-Haul for one of my wife's friends to Vegas because she moved to Vegas, and we were there for 3 days, and we couldn't wait to get back home. Yeah. It's just being that close to LA and then just in Vegas. It's just, when you have the Holy Spirit, like it's a real
Vegas
thing.
Is scary.
Yeah. It's a feeling, it's an icky conviction that you get. And, thank God, that he blesses us with that. Because it used to feel real good to be in Vegas. Really good.
Oh, I know.
Like I could go to Vegas and not know anybody. And I know I could be, high in an hour, drunk, gambling, all the things,
Yep. Yeah. Easiest town in the world to party in. Yeah. Easiest town in the world to party in. Yeah. I'm not much of a, I went with Quibs and we had a pretty good time, but it was so different. And I talked to her about it. You know what I mean? Like I went there with a woman. We didn't gamble, right? I didn't get drunk. There was and all of the things that I would have done in Vegas, I just, I hung out, we made some content and laughed. We were out there to harass, the Caspers. It was very, very different because every time I've ever been to Vegas, it's like, I was that guy. I'd be in the airport going like this, like, yeah, you could smell the sin,
Yeah.
For real. My brother says that when we used to fly in there and he'd go, do you smell that? And I'd go, no, what do I smell? He'd go, sin. Everywhere. You'd smell it everywhere you go in that town.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
What was this violation? So this is how this went down. I went to prison for bank robbery. This is when I met Casper. I got out.
Yep.
Living with the woman that I was married to at the time, and we began to party. So I bought a crap load of guns for a very cheap price. And then I started to sell those crap loads of guns. Well, it turns out that the person that sold it to me was working with the feds. So that sale to me was a setup. And what's amazing is the people that I was selling to, well, they were working for the feds too. So I managed to buy guns from the federal government and sell guns back to the federal government. Well, that cost me a hell of a lot of my life. But when they came into my house to raid the house, they brought 70 officers, and we had a very small house, but they brought 70 officers to search the premises. And the violation, when putting them on blast, but I don't care. It's been more than 7 years. But when my PO walked in, he knocked on the door and he goes, hey, it's Chris. And I said, hey, Chris, how many friends you got with you? He goes, about 70. And I was like, oh, crap. So I said, let me put the dogs away. And he's like, don't play games. I'm like, I'm not. So I went and I opened the door and just he came in and he shut the door and he goes, you got 60 seconds of amnesty. Is there anything in this house you would like me to get rid of? And I'm looking at my wife, who was an attorney, and she's doing this one, like shaking her head. And I was like, the DVD player's fake. It's hollow. I'm like, everything in there's got to go. And I had 2 pew-pews in there with laser, sights and the whole works. And he took him and put him in his pants. And then he took a big bag of H and stuck it in his pocket, and he took a scale and put that down his pants. And if they had found that stuff, that would have been 9 years, right? So when it was all said and done and they tore the entire house apart, they found a bullet. And that bullet was a violation of my.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
In fact, it was a 6-year violation. That bullet was worth 6 years in prison. And as it turns out, they ran all but 1 year of it concurrent with the sentence that I was getting. So I got 5 run concurrent and 1 bow-legged on the end of it, because the judge said, well, I'd like to show you a little light at the end of the tunnel. I hit him with a, no joke, it's in the transcripts. Good looking out, Your Honor. good looking out.
Yeah.
He wasn't very nice to me at sentencing. He wasn't very nice to me at all, actually. Why was I set up? Because I was a loser that did a ton of drugs. And what happens when you're a loser who does a ton of drugs is you hang out with other losers who do tons of drugs. And when one of those losers gets caught, they look for the closest person that they can turn in so that they don't have to get sick. Like they're sitting in a jail cell and that dope sick is starting to kick in and they're vomiting on themselves. A cop comes in and goes, hey, can you give me anyone? I could probably have you out of here today. And they start going, blah, 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 blah. Just keep talking until. So this guy was trying to set somebody up to get himself out of trouble. And I was doing a lot of dope. So the guy came by the house. First, what happened is a mutual friend of ours who was a prostitute called me and said, would you be interested in buying any pew-pews? And I said, probably not. Not really my thing. And she's like, because this guy's got like 50 of them. It was a lot of them. And he wanted so little money for it that I was dumb enough to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
No,
That's how it
then
works.
it wanted low. But no, people, if they're strung out, you'll get good deals. Some people be like, oh, you should have known because they were so cheap. But no, not really. People get hard up.
Yeah, no
I've
joke
given away
whatsoever.
Jeeps. I've given away cars, given them away. Yeah.
No, it's you'd be really surprised the stuff you could pick up, because like my friend Jack, who everybody on the boat has met before, but I remember after a particular bank that I had robbed, and I had stacks of 10 racks sitting around, a couple of them, and he picked one up and he's trying to jam in this $10,000 stack of cash in his nose. It's worthless. This stuff does nothing. You know what I mean? And the perspective of, well, there's 20K and we're sick, right? That stuff's worthless. All that is just a representation of this black stuff that I got to put in a spoon, cook up and put in my veins so that I can face the day.
Yeah. How about so you can't even go look for it or go commit a crime?
Well, and this is why people don't understand the allure of the chemical and why this is such a hard substance to get over, because there's not a junkie on earth that hasn't been so sick that they literally can't get out the front door to go steal, and a person that they know shows up out of the blue, walks in and goes, hey man, here. They throw you this stuff that all of a sudden makes you feel good, and you look at that person and go, I'd kill for him. It changes how you look, and they're probably a terrible person. The only reason they're doing it is because they're fat right now. They got a pocket full, and they think the next time they're down, they might want to call you. But at the time, that person walks on water. You look at them as it's a very unusual substance that way. It breeds, especially like between male and female, it can breed the most unhealthy relationships in the entire world. Right?
Oh, yeah.
A man and a woman addicted to that substance will stay together for eternity because they become so codependent. It's a horrific drug. How great does it feel to wake up in the morning and know that if you just lay in bed and don't do anything, you're not going to be sick in 3 hours?
Oh man, it's so amazing, man. Like life is so amazing. I'm so grateful for every little thing, every breath I take. And I get stressed out about stuff, but I really have to stop myself, And my wife will tell you, like, if we get into a tiff and like argue, like I can get really angry and not violent, never violent, but like we can get, heated in a heated argument. But she knows, and I know for her too, like if we give each other just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we realize all the things we're grateful for. And like that argument was nothing, that means nothing. Like, it was a fake argument in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. I've told that to her too.
Who's banging Vegemite?
Ooh, a Vegemite sandwich.
I can't do this stuff. I will be hitting 10 years 10 years heroin free, June 27th of this year. And there are still 2 or 3 days a week that I wake up and I think to myself, I can't believe I don't need a fix. And it's been a solid decade, but
Yeah.
it still hits me. There are still, or I'll be driving with Johnny, or I'll be driving with my son, and we'll go by a bus stop, and you'll see people that are copping dope or fixing, and there'll be that quick realization of, oh my God, like, that's where I was, and where I'm at now is just so much better. But
I used to
Casper,
live on. Go ahead.
No.
Oh no, I was trying to think of this the other day. I used to live on Grant and Stone. You know where Grant and Stone is in Tucson?
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a big sign. I don't know if it's still there, but it says Grant and Stone. It's like a shopping plaza or whatever, or something like that.
I drove by there today. I don't live far from Grant. Spanx Calhoun lives on Grant.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I used to live on Grant Stone, some apartments back there.
Yep. I know it well.
That's when I worked at Raiders Reef, the pirate ship strip bar and Speedway.
What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing.
I can't tell you how much it means to me that you come on and you tell your story for so many reasons. It's I'm the way that people who have done time are represented on the internet varies dramatically, and there is a certain fun narrative to push the world that we live in and kind of hold it to a prison standard, and it disturbs me. It really does. Everybody who's time should, in my opinion, and maybe I'm way off base, but your job as an inmate is to try to be a person who, once you walk out the door, people will not go inmate as soon as they see you. That's what I thought the job was, and you turned yourself into somebody that will always people are always going to be blown away that you're that you were an inmate, and I think that that's probably a pretty good indicator of the fact that you're doing something right. Real. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I like earlier when you asked me, like, hey, you want to tell your story, and I was talking to Chad Marks from Blood on the Razor Wire today, and I'm just telling him, like, if I go on his show, this is what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about. I want to talk about the redemption and the good stuff. Because he likes to get into it. Like, so how many times were you stabbed? But I don't know. I'm gonna talk to him on Wednesday, but I just told it now, so I don't know if I want to tell it again this soon.
Well, I respect you. I respect you coming on and doing it, and it's good because it gives people an opportunity to know you better, because they're going to be seeing so much more of it.
And I want to say this before you sign off. I don't know if you got to go like really fast, but
I'm going to be heading downtown to pick my kid up here shortly. He's working as a roadie today.
Oh, okay, yeah, just real quick. When I first started coming on YouTube, I didn't want anyone to know I'd been to prison. And if you see some of my first videos, I'm wearing like turtlenecks, and my hands aren't coming up, and I'm just like, today at that time it was called All Rise Legal Network.
Right.
Today on All Rise Legal Network, we got this and that, and I pro judge, prosecute, and then I was seeing people get busted in the other communities. Oh, that dude lied. He's raising money and he's doing this, and I was like, screw that. So then when I did go on Inside True Crime, I told him, I was like, I'm going to be the most honest I've ever been anywhere on the internet today. And from that moment on, I feel so liberated. I feel more, I'm not worried about losing a subscriber, because that's my story. That's my truth. That's all the cliche things that people say, that's who I was authentically, or that's how have become this authentic self. It's got to be told. It can't not be told. I don't have to tell the details like we did tonight to everyone in the world, but I guess what I'm saying is, we already struggle feeling like we're not good enough and that we're frauds because
Correct.
of all the lies and manipulation that we do. We're the kind of, I wrote a whole paper on manipulation. I should share it with the boat someday. It's an amazing paper I wrote, and it must be amazing because I don't pump myself up ever. I don't say, oh yeah, I'm great at this, but it's it's just an automatic. We don't think manipulation. It's not about like, hey, asking your parents to lie to your PO for you. It's not that kind of manipulation. It's like and so that's not a part of me anymore, and so I feel like by not being honest and rigorously honest with people that are saying that they like my content, or they like hearing me talk, or they like us talking, I want everyone to know everything, because I don't want you coming back later and saying, oh, I didn't know he'd been to prison. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do exactly. There's something so liberating too. There is something. It's like the scene in 8 Mile. You know what I mean? There's something so liberating about the whole new crew of trolls that are out now, and they're going da 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 da, and I got 2,600 videos. What they just brought up, I've done 4 videos addressing. I've talked about every aspect of my life. There is nothing out there that hasn't been discussed ad nauseum. And there's something to that. You steal the power from the people that want to hate you if you own your mistakes in your past.
Yep. And it shows, and this the most beautiful thing about it. It shows that people, that those guys that you see on the street, that they can be good people, and that my grandma used to stick up for me all the time with my family. Like, oh no, out of all of you guys, Sam has the biggest heart. So you guys are wrong by saying, he's a POS, or, oh, look what he did now. And, he threw his whole life away, after, Carrie was killed. All of it, I don't know. I'm babbling right now.
No, something. Here's the way I look at it. We can leave it with this one because I think it's genius.
I will, Kristen. I will share
it many times in the past, but there's a very unique thing that happens to people when they get sober. And it's very often what they would like to do is pretend that they have never had a buzz. They don't want anybody in the world to ever know that they ever were intoxicated on anything, and they can shape their world to fit that narrative. And then there's the other kind of people. There's the people that walk out of there and go, oh, thank God I'm out, man. I'm never going back in there again, except I might run back in just to grab 1 or 2 people, right? Because it's a bummer to think that there are people in there going through what you were going through, and you tend to run back into the fire to see if you can grab 1 or 2 more people. And you had to go through the things that you went through, and this kind of honesty and this kind of acceptance, and I mean self-acceptance, is the kind of stuff that gives you credibility, so that when somebody asks you for help, they believe that they can trust you.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of where you have been, and
thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and where you are today, and I'm proud to call you friend. So we will be doing a lot more going forward. I love you, my man. I'm proud of you.
I love you too, brother.
It's great to see you and your family, and stick around, folks. It's going to get really, really wild.
And just thank you for introducing me to this everything. The boat viewers are just like crazy amazing, man. I can't even stand it.
It's a pretty interesting group of people, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
There's very few things on this earth that I'm more proud of than the group of people that have assembled here. I can't take a lot of credit for it, but boy, oh boy, I'm associated with it, and I'm damn proud of that. Yep. All right, people, between now and the next time I see you, reach out and try to save somebody. Reese, I'm coming to bed shortly. All righty, everyone. God bless.
Bye, guys.
That was absolutely